Honorable Chief Guest, the Speaker of the Jordanian Senate, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, Honorable Guest of Honor, Chair of Bangladesh Parliament's Standing Committee on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Lieutenant Colonel Retired Mohammad Faruk Khan MP, esteemed speakers, excellencies and respected viewers. Assalamu alaikum and good day to you all from an unusually warm winter in Dhaka. On behalf of the Bangladesh Embassy in Amman, Jordan, I welcome you all to this special event for the inauguration of the Bangabandhu Corner, the architect of Sonar Bangla in frames, at our mission in Amman, Jordan, and a discussion on the historic 10th January, the day the father of the nation returned home in 1972 after 9.5 months of incarceration and solitary confinement in the dark prisons of Pakistan. To speak on this very important topic, apart from our chief guest and guest of honor, we have three very esteemed speakers with us today. We are honored by the presence of Dr. Sawsan Majali, a former member of the Jordanian Senate and chair of the Senate Labor and Development Committee. We are honored to have with us the Honorable Chief Coordinator of Bangladesh Government's National Implementation Committee for the birth centenary celebration of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Dr. Kamal Abdul Naser Chowdhury. We are also pleased to have with us today Mr. Syed Badrul Ahsan, a renowned writer and researcher from Bangladesh. Today's event is a combination of offline and online segments. Due to COVID-19 related health restrictions, we were able to invite only a few selected guests at our embassy premises in Amman, Jordan, to physically witness the inauguration of the Bangabandhu Corner. Before we start the discussions, let me invite Bangladesh's ambassador to Jordan, one of our Foreign Service's finest, Her Excellency Ms. Nahida Sobhan, to give her welcome remarks. Her Excellency Nahida Sobhan. Unmute, we need to unmute first. That channel is currently muted. It has to be unmuted. Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll start again. Thank you, Shali Farhad, Chief Guest Honorable President of the Senate, Your Excellency Mr. Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, Guest of Honor, Retired Lieutenant Colonel, Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. Mohammad Faruk Khan, distinguished panelists, Excellencies, Jordan's Probashi Bangladeshis, and distinguished audience that have joined over Zoom and Internet in today's special commemorative program and the inauguration of the Bangabandhu Corner, the architect of Sonar Bangla in frames. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon from Amman. It is my great honor and privilege to be able to welcome you all and organize today's event as the ambassador of Bangladesh in Jordan. At the outset, I would like to pay homage to our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Historically speaking, we can proudly be here in this embassy of Bangladesh today because of this leader who was born in 1920 to become the architect of the liberation of a country called Bangladesh. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman began his political career at a very young age. The main objective of his social work and his political career had always been the betterment of the people of this land. In 1947, as India was divided into two different countries, India and Pakistan. Bangladesh, the then East Bengal, was merged with Pakistan as East Pakistan. Bengalis in East Pakistan still faced persecution, oppression, and discrimination. Father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, emerged as the selfless visionary leader to unite the people of East Pakistan for their freedom. Freedom from want, freedom from suppression, freedom from discrimination, and freedom from civil, political, and social oppression. He spent almost 1/4 of his life and 1/3 of his adult life in prison. He constantly led the Bengali people and our nation in our struggle for preserving our identity as Bengali. Starting from our language movement of 1952 to the 6-point movement of 1966 for autonomy, and finally to the glorious liberation war in 1971, Bangabandhu became the dauntless voice of Bengalis. He was given the title Bangabandhu, the friend of Bengal, by the people after his release from the Agartala conspiracy case in 1969. Today, as we reflect on 10th January 1972, we reflect on a sentiment of joy and a piece of history of Bangladesh. Father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, came back to Bangladesh, an independent sovereign state, from the jails in Pakistan on this day after he was imprisoned in the early hours of 26 March 1971, as the independence of Bangladesh was proclaimed. He was released from jail in Pakistan on 8 January 1972. Today, his daughter, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is carrying forward the dream that was dreamt by Bangabandhu, the dream of a prosperous, secular, and democratic Bangladesh. As we commemorate the homecoming day of Bangabandhu, the Embassy of Bangladesh is proud to inaugurate the Bangabandhu Corner, architect of Sonar Bangla in frames, in the embassy premise. The Bangabandhu Corner is part of our history. It depicts his life, his struggles for his people, his leadership, his contribution to our liberation, and his diplomatic maneuvers with global leaders to gain support and recognition for Bangladesh. Bangabandhu came to us as an apostle of freedom, under whose leadership the Bengali nation achieved independence and broke the chains of oppression. Hence, we are extremely delighted to be able to establish the Bangabandhu Corner in the embassy premise today. And I must put a word of applause here for the embassy's head of Chancery, Mr. Mohammad Bashir, for his dedication in completing the work. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may know, Bangladesh is celebrating the Mujib Borsho, the birth centennial of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, which will continue till December 2021. Today's program is part of the Mujib Borsho webinar series the Embassy of Bangladesh is organizing to commemorate the Mujib Borsho. At the same time, this year, Bangladesh is also celebrating the 50th anniversary of our independence. I'm glad to celebrate the birth centennial of Bangabandhu and the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh in a country that will itself also celebrate its own 100 years of establishment. This year marks the centennial of the establishment of the Jordanian state upon the arrival of His Majesty the late King Abdullah I in 1920. I look forward to enjoy and celebrate these important events of the two brotherly countries together in the coming days. On this note, I am honored to welcome His Excellency Mr. Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, the President of the Senate of Jordan, to our embassy. I would like to thank him specially for joining us today to inaugurate the Bangabandhu Corner. My sincere appreciation for our guest of honor, Honorable Member of Parliament, retired Lieutenant Colonel Mr. Mohammed Faruk Khan, sir. I convey also my thanks for Sawsan Majali for joining us today, despite an illness in her family. I would like to convey also my thanks to Dr. Kamal Abdul Naser Chowdhury, sir, the Chief Coordinator of the Office of the National Implementation Committee for Birth Centenary Celebration of the father of the nation. My immense gratitude for Syed Badrul Ahsan sir for kindly gracing the program with his valuable presence among us. Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, we are indebted to Barrister Shah Ali Farhad for kindly moderating the session, and thank also Suranjit Mondal for the technical support. I hope you all will enjoy the program. Thank you all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Ms. Nahida Sobhan, our ambassador to Jordan. Honorable guests, esteemed speakers, excellencies, and respected viewers. We will now watch a brief audiovisual presentation on the historic 10th January to give you a context of the significance of this date for Bengalis and Bangladeshis. So I would request our team to play the video on 10th January.
Today, I am free to share the unbounded joy of freedom with my fellow countrymen who have owned their freedom in an epic liberation struggle. The ultimate achievement of this struggle is the creation of an independent, sovereign People's Republic of Bangladesh, of which my people declared me as the president while I was a prisoner in the condemned cell, awaiting the execution of a sentence of hanging. করি আমার বাংলাদেশের ছাত্র শ্রমিক কৃষক বুদ্ধিজীবী সেবাই পুলিশ জনগণকে হিন্দু মুসলমানকে হত্যা করা হয়েছে তাদের আত্মার মঙ্গল কামনা করে এবং তাদের প্রতি শ্রদ্ধা নিবেদন করে আমি আপনাদের কাছে দু এক কথা বলতে চাই। আমার বাংলাদেশ আজ স্বাধীন হয়েছে, আমার জীবনের স্বাদ আজ পূর্ণ হয়েছে, আমার বাংলার মানুষ আজ মুক্ত হয়েছে। আমি আজ বক্তৃতা করতে পারবো না। বাংলার ছেলেরা, বাংলার মায়েরা, বাংলার কৃষক, বাংলার শ্রমিক, বাংলার বুদ্ধিজীবী কিভাবে সংগ্রাম করেছে। আমি কারাগারে বন্দী ছিলাম, ফাঁসি কাটতে যাবার জন্য প্রস্তুত ছিলাম, কিন্তু আমি জানতাম আমার বাঙালিকে কেউ দাবায় রাখতে পারবে না। আমার বাংলার মানুষ
Honorable guests, esteemed speakers, excellencies, and respected viewers, we hope that you liked our little effort in giving you a context of the events of 10th January and why it holds such significance for us Bengalis and Bangladeshis. We will now start the discussion part of our program. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Syed Badrul Ahsan for his comments on the father of the nation and the significance of 10th January. Mr. Ahsan is a biographer of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and is author of the critically acclaimed book, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, From Rebel to Founding Father. He is a researcher on various aspects of Bangladesh's history, especially the country's founding history. He has been a columnist and essayist for decades now and writes regularly for all top English language newspapers and magazines in Bangladesh and abroad. So let us now go to Mr. Syed Badrul Ahsan for his comments.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and my friends and our honorable friends from Jordan. It's a pleasure being with you this morning on a very historic day. And personally, I remember the day because I happened to be a 16-year-old at the time when Bangabandhu came back home on 10 January 1972. I might begin on a personal note by saying that we just saw the footage of Bangabandhu's return to Bangladesh, to independent Bangladesh on 10 January 1972. And you could all see the truck on which he was flanked by his party leaders and student leaders and a whole crowd of people welcoming back home. And I happened to be at the back of the truck. I hung on the truck all the way from the airport, the old Tejgaon airport, all the way to the race course. So that was me as a witness to the historic event. Now, when we talk of Bangabandhu, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangabandhu, friend of Bengal, a few points I would like to make here is that he accomplished the accomplishments he had in liberating the country, in leading Bangladesh to freedom, 75 million Bengalis at that time to freedom. Those are immense when you consider the history of popular struggles all over the world. So he was, when he actually set out for Bangladesh's liberation, he was only 46 years old. I speak of the year 1966. In February 1966, he came forth with a 6-point program for regional autonomy. And that was the first definitive step he took towards Bangladesh's freedom. And I may also point out here that when he made that announcement of a 6-point program for regional autonomy on a vast scale for what used to be East Pakistan or East Bengal at the time for the people of Bangladesh eventually. He did it in the city of Lahore. And all of us who are aware of history, we know that Lahore was the place in 1940 where the seeds of Pakistan were sown by the Lahore Resolution of the Muslim League. And it was in Lahore itself, again, when the idea, the strategy for Bangladesh was given shape by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on the 5th of February 1966 through his 6 points. So, and see, he was a young man at that time. But then, see, when you consider his age, the age by which he led to freedom, that was he was 51 in 1971, and he was young in relative terms when you compare him to other leaders in global history. But within this time scale of 51 years, the accomplishments he had, the accomplishments he made were remarkable, because he spent, in these 51 years of his life, he spent altogether 13 years in prison. So he started going to jail in 1948, and it seemed every government which took over in Pakistan after the partition of the Indian subcontinent, every government had one enemy, according to them. They arrested other leaders, they released those other leaders, or they confined those other leaders to house arrest. But for Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, they had one particular place that was always prison, and he kept going to prison. And after the 6 points were announced in 1966, the powers that be, the powers that were at that time, came down hard on him, and he was implicated in a case called the Agartala conspiracy case. And there too, you see, on the first day of the trial, the beginning of the trial in the Agartala conspiracy case, that was 19 June 1968, you could see the confidence, the self-confidence, the self-esteem that Bangabandhu had when he was when he was presented in court. He tried to speak to a journalist. He knew the journalist was afraid and told him that he couldn't speak to him in that place, in that court, because Pakistani intelligence were all around. In other words, the journalist was afraid. At that point, Bangabandhu, he said loudly for everyone to hear, anyone who wishes to live in Bangladesh will have to speak to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, quote and unquote. That was a statement. So you see, Bangladesh was still a dream. It was still far away. But then his confidence that Bangladesh would be free. Note that he did not refer to the place as East Pakistan or the eastern province of Pakistan or East Bengal. His confidence, self-confidence was infectious. That was June 1968. And by 1969, February 1961, he was free. The Agartala conspiracy had been withdrawn, and he emerged as the undisputed leader of the Bengali nation. And this undisputed status as Bangladesh's leader was solidified and legitimized through the elections, general elections of December 7, 1970, when in a National Assembly of 313 seats all over Pakistan, his party, under his leadership, achieved or attained 167 seats. We know the rest of history. I'm not going to go into that. But what I would like to say is that we remember him. We call him the greatest Bengali of all time. There have been other great Bengalis in our lives. The poet Rabindranath Tagore, Deshbandhu C.R. Das in pre-partition India, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was there. The poet Qazi Nazrul Islam was there. They're all great Bengalis, illustrious Bengalis, part of our cultural and political heritage. But we refer to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as the greatest Bengali of all time because he not only led the nation to freedom, he not only provided leadership to us, he created, unlike so many other leaders in the entire world, he created a nation state. So he gave our country the name Bangladesh, and he did it on 5th December 1969, on the 6th death anniversary of his revered leader and mentor, Hussain Shahid Sarwardi. At that point, he said, since Pakistan, the western provinces of Pakistan had their own names, Baluchistan, Northwest Frontier Province, Punjab, and Sindh, our land will also be known as Bangladesh from now on. So this name was given, the name Bangladesh, People's Republic of Bangladesh. That is Bangabandhu's legacy. So there you see. and he had this after liberation. And yeah, I might add one thing. There were points in our history when we did not expect him to live, to survive, because the entire goal of the Agartala conspiracy case instituted by the government of Field Marshal Muhammad Ayub Khan was to eliminate him. But then a popular upsurge led him to freedom. Then again, when he was taken into custody, as you saw in the documentary a few minutes ago, on the 26th of March, he was placed on trial before a secret military tribunal. Now, you can imagine here was a leader who had won the majority of seats in what was then Pakistan. He was supposed to be Prime Minister of Pakistan, but the election results were repudiated, and he was abducted. I would not say arrested. He was abducted and taken off to Pakistan, 1,000 miles away from his home, in a jail in Miawali in the Punjab, where he was put on trial. And then in late November 1971, he was sentenced to death. The sentence of death would have been carried out had it not been for the fact that Pakistan was defeated militarily in Bangladesh, and the Pakistan army surrendered on the 16th of December 1971. And then, of course, Bangabandhu came home. On this day, we remember, I still remember, because people of my generation, we remember the spontaneity, the enthusiasm with which the entire population of Bangladesh welcomed him to Dhaka. And after he took charge on the 12th of January, today is the 10th of January, on the 12th of January, 1972, he took charge as Prime Minister because he felt, and we all felt, the nation itself felt, that with Bangabandhu at the helm, things could not go wrong. And he gave us leadership. And that is why we call him, I have always said that he's the druid in our life. He's the minstrel who sang our songs. He's the statesman who gave us a reputation in the world. He walked tall. And when you think of Bangabandhu, you think of what leadership actually means, what statesmanship actually means. So you see, there we are. And we have, Bangabandhu remains a part of our life. He remains a part of our life every day, every hour. He is a symbol of Bangladesh. Bangladesh symbolizes Bangabandhu. Everywhere you go, we speak of him, we think of him. During the war, in the Shadin Bangla Betar Kendro, the Free Bengal Radio, there were innumerable songs composed on Bangabandhu, about Bangabandhu. So these are the things we remember. He was, as I said, he walked tall, and he gave us dignity. So when we think of him, we remember the tall man he was, literally and figuratively. And finally, I would like to say, whenever people like myself, whenever we travel out of Bangladesh, we carry that little green passport in our hand. At every airport outside Bangladesh, it gives me a matter of pride that I am from Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is a country which was brought into creation by the leadership of our great leader, our Superman, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sir Badrul Ahsan. It's always a pleasure listening to your comments on the father of the nation and the founding history of Bangladesh. Just picking up on a couple of points that was mentioned by Mr. Ahsan, for our friends who might not have the necessary background. Sir Badrul Ahsan talked about Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman being considered to be the greatest Bengali of all time. In fact, it's not just a rhetoric that his fans and followers say out of love. It is actually a statistically established fact, in the sense that in 2004, an opinion poll was conducted by the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, where they asked their viewers and readers to rank the greatest Bengalis according to their opinion. And at number one, massively with a very big margin, Bangabandhu came up to be the number one choice. So it is statistically established that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is considered by the Bengalis to be the greatest of them all. And another point that was mentioned by Mr. Ahsan was the fact that Bangabandhu spent so much of his life in prison that it's almost was like his second home. And while there are a couple of variants in the estimates, we can say that he spent around 10 years of his life in prison. It could be more, that is the lower estimate, that he spent around 10 years of his life in prison, fighting for the causes he believed in, fighting for the Bengalis and their self-determination and their freedoms and their independence. And if you think about the lifespan of the father of the nation, at the time when he was assassinated in 1975, he was only 50 years old. So by the time he gave us an independent nation, a new country called Bangladesh, at that time he was only 50 years old. By 50 years old, he had already spent 1/5 of his entire life in jail. I think that is something inspirational, something encouraging for the young people, not only in Bangladesh, but across the world, that if you are ready to pay the price for what you believe in the end, you will get it, no matter how difficult it may seem initially. So without any further delay, I would like to go to our next speaker. I have the pleasure now to invite for his comments someone I greatly admire and look up to, and with whom I have had the pleasure of working very closely for the last 2 years, Dr. Kamal Abdul Naser Chowdhury. Dr. Chowdhury is currently serving as the Chief Coordinator of the National Implementation Committee for the birth centenary celebration of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Previously, he had served as the Senior Secretary of the Government of Bangladesh in various departments, including being the Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and also the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration. He also has another very important identity. He is a very well-known poet in Bangladesh. In fact, he is actually one of a handful of poets who are credited with protesting the assassination of Bangabandhu through arts and literature. His first poetry collection, Michiler Shoman Boyshi, still shines as a symbol of rebellious youth. He has published over 24 books of poetry. Dr. Chaudhary received the much coveted Bangla Academy Literature Prize in 2011. He had also served as the Bangladesh representative to the UNESCO Executive Board and was the president of its Conventions and Recommendations Committee. So without any delay, I would now like to invite Dr. Kamal Abdul Naser Chowdhury for his remarks.
Thank you, Farhad, for your kind words about me. Can you hear me clearly? Honorable Chief Guest, the Speaker of the Jordanian Senate, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, Honorable Guest of Honor, the Chairman of the Bangladesh Parliament Standing Committee on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Presidium Member of Bangladesh Awami League, His Excellency Lieutenant Colonel retired Faruk Khan MP, the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Jordan, Her Excellency Ms. Nahida Sobhan, esteemed speakers, excellencies and respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum and good day to you all. I begin my speech remembering with profound respect and gratitude to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and all his family members, including Bangomata Fazilutunnesa Mujib, who embraced martyrdom on the fateful night of 15th August 1975. I pay my deep tribute to 30 lakh martyrs and freedom fighters who sacrificed their lives in the war of liberation and 2 lakh women who were brutally persecuted during the war. I would like to convey my greetings to all of you on behalf of the Office of the National Implementation Committee for the centenary celebration of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. As you know, that there are 2 committees have been formed by the government to celebrate the father of the nation's birth centenary. One is the National Committee that is headed by Honorable Prime Minister, and I'm working as the member secretary of that committee. And there is another committee that is National Implementation Committee. Our National Professor Rafiqul Islam is the chairperson of the Implementation Committee, and I'm working as the chief coordinator of the committee. I would like to express my gratitude to the Bangladesh Embassy in Amman, Jordan, for arranging this discussion. I also highly applaud the embassy's effort for setting up the Bangabandhu Corner in the mission. As part of the birth centenary celebration, such Bangabandhu corners have been set up in many government, semi-government, autonomous and semi-autonomous and private organizations in Bangladesh and abroad as a means for the people to know more about the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and his remarkable political life filled with lessons for people from all ages, races, and nationalities. In fact, I am fortunate to be the witness of two very remarkable events in the history of Bangladesh. One is the 7th March speech of Bangladesh, where Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he has, in fact, indeed, if we should understand the connotation of the 7th March speech, that he has declared the independence. He said this struggle is the struggle for freedom. And also the 10th January. In fact, at that time I was a school student, and when I came to the 7th March speech, the race course Maidan, race course ground, at that time I was a school student, and we were living at Adamji Jute Mill, and I walked 25 kilometers just to attend this meeting. So you can understand my emotion about 7th March speech. And also 10th January, at that time I was also present in the race course Maidan. So these 2 days are in fact the days of my tribute, in fact, remembrance for our father of the nation. Father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he has been dubbed as the poet of politics of the world, in fact. And he's the only person I have seen that nobody has been, in fact, dubbed as poet of politics in any media before, but only Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The Newsweek of 1971, they called about Bangabandhu, and they said that eloquent in English, Urdu and Bangla, three major languages of Pakistan, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, popularly known as Bangabandhu, is a poet of politics. Bangabandhu, you see, if we consider the history of Bangladesh, in fact, if we consider through the ethno-linguistic, the perspective, so the history of Bangladesh is we can tell that more than 1,000 years of history. And Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is the only leader within this more than 1,000 years of our history who has given us a nation, in fact, the nation state by this time. Syed Badrul Ahsan Bhai, he has said about that, and also Farhad also clarified about few points. So Bangabandhu is the only leader, and the uniqueness of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in this subcontinent, I should say this, not only in this subcontinent, the uniqueness of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in the world also, because he has established a nation state through linguistic nationalism and also a secular nation state in this subcontinent. So these two, in fact, the very, very unique characteristics of his achievement, and Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is the only leader because of that. In fact, and then the BBC in 2004, they have also declared that Bangabandhu is the greatest Bengali of all time. So we are celebrating the birth centenary of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So we have chalked out many programs by this time so that we can make this time memorable. But you see, we don't want to go for, you see, the conclusion of this birth centenary celebration, because Bangabandhu is our, you see, the eternal inspiration. Bangabandhu is our eternal flame. So this birth centenary celebration, our rich tribute for Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, that will continue forever. So I believe that this type of initiative taken by the embassy of Bangladesh in Jordan, and also some other embassies and some other, you see, the corners in our country also, because we are celebrating this Bangabandhu's birth centenary in Bangladesh also, and also outside Bangladesh. And in fact, our embassies are also very relentlessly, they're working to project the life and achievements and the contributions of the father of the nation. But the Bangabandhu corner has a very significant connotation in the sense that this is just not a corner, this is not periphery. This is something which can meet with history. This is something through it young people can learn, can observe, and can see. This is sort of, you see, the library is sort of, you see, the mini museum too. So I believe that through this, our young generation who didn't see Bangabandhu, like you see, the we people, because we became, you see, the sort of aged people right now. But they can understand what Bangabandhu was, in fact, what he did for this country, and what is how he became, you see, the Bangabandhu from Khoka. His nickname is Khoka, but from Khoka, he became the leader. And from leader, he became the friend of Bengal. And from friend of Bengal, he became the, you see, the father of the nation. And when he was, you see, the delivering his 7th March speech in the mammoth gathering of Racecourse Maidan, at that time, you see, there was no, you see, the gap between the nation and Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So that there was, you see, there was no missing link between these two. So that's why that is the, you see, the uniqueness of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as a leader in the history of Bengali people, a Bengali nation. So this is very important, that young generation should know about Bangabandhu, young generation should know about history of Bangladesh. Unless they know the history of Bangladesh, how they will usually contribute for the nation building, because Bangabandhu has dreamed for a Sonar Bangla. That Sonar Bangla, you see, the now Honorable Prime Minister, the illustrious daughter of our father of the nation. So under her dynamic leadership, Bangladesh is marching forward. So the young generation will be they will be the catalyst, they will be the activist in future for making the Bangabandhu Sonar Bangla. So that's why they should know about the Bangladesh, they should know the history, culture, and you see the sacrifice of our people. So through this, I believe that our young generation will learn, will know something about Bangabandhu. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he has written 3 books. অসমাপ্ত আত্মজীবনী, Unfinished Memoirs, Prison Diaries, কারাগারে রোজ নামচা, and আমার দেখানো আছেন, that is the visit of his memoirs of the visit of China in 1952 and afterwards. So Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur has these 3 books, because you see there are many books written by the political prisoners. We know about Jawaharlal Nehru, we know about Antonio Gramsci, we know Malcolm Havel, and also the Nelson Mandela, and to mention a few names, many, in fact, the political figures they have written on in the prison. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he has written 3 books while he was in prison. And I should, you see, remember, and I should pay my deep respect to the Bangamata, his wife, Bangamata Sheikh Fazilatul Nasa, because of Bangamata's inspiration, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he became a writer, political writer, because he has written the memoirs because of that. And so those memoirs are not only memoirs, because it is the source of our history, source of, you see, the understanding that time. If we go very deep into those books, we'll understand that, in fact, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, while he was writing those books, he was not only a political, you see, the activist. He became, you see, this sort of sociologist also. I should say that, because his eyes as anthropologist also he worked, because he has tried to observe so minutely everything of our society, our culture, our understanding, even our characteristics of Bengalis also. So this is very important. Even when Bangabandhu has visited some other places, he tried to understand how, in fact, those countries are developing, how those countries are facing the challenges of, I mean, the socio-economic challenges. So in fact, Bangabandhu tried to gather experience, tried to observe very minutely, sort of participant observation method. Bangabandhu was not an anthropologist, you see, but you see, in anthropology, there is a very famous method that is called participant observation method. In fact, unless you participate, unless you see, unless you try to understand, you will not, you see, be able to contribute in future. So Bangabandhu, always he has tried to do that. And so in Bangabandhu's corner, a few books that have also, Bangabandhu's 3 books that has been translated in English, in many languages, even in Arabic also. Also, in addition to that, Honorable Prime Minister, she has edited secret documents on Bangabandhu. In fact, those are the police reports against Bangabandhu during the time of his imprisonment. And Bangabandhu, in fact, that is also very valuable source of our history. So through this Bangabandhu Corner, I believe the researcher also, young generation also, they will get new directions. And for the young generations of Jordan also, they will also learn something from here, and also Bangladeshi people, they will also know something. So that's why, in fact, this setting up of this type of Bangabandhu Corner is very, very important to me. And Bangabandhu also was also very, in fact, world leader. And you see, there was a very good friendship with the Arab world, with Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And, we know that he was always in favor of the Palestinian people and Arab worlds, even the just cause. So I think the Bangabandhu should be known by everybody. So that's why I want to congratulate our embassy for establishing this type of Bangabandhu Corner. And so by this time I have said that the government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, Honorable Prime Minister, the eldest daughter of Bangabandhu, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, declared the duration of Bangabandhu, the celebration time 7 March 2020 to 26 March. It was initially, in fact, designed, but now we will be able to observe and celebrate Father of the Nation's birth centenary up to 16th of December. And 2021 is a historic for us for another reason. We will mark the 50 years of our independence on 26th March this year. The extension of Mujibiyar and the golden anniversary of our independence gives us a unique opportunity to take various initiatives across the globe to highlight these two significant milestones for all Bangladeshis. We believe that the life of Bangabandhu can offer many timeless lessons, many of which are very relevant for the international political order today. Today itself is a historic day for us. I've said about that today is the 10th January, and we are celebrating 10th January in a befitting manner. By this time in the morning, you see the international marathon, in fact, was held here in Bangladesh, and many programs we have undertaken. And in the last year, in 10th January, we have started the countdown of the Mujibiyar. That was another, you see, the very important event, in fact, celebrated by all of us. So I think with these few words, I should conclude. And once again, I would like to convey my thanks to the Embassy of Bangladesh in Amman for doing this excellent job. And in future, I believe that Bangabandhu's writing should also be, and also on Bangabandhu's, many writers have written on Bangabandhu. You see, the Bangabandhu is our inspiration. Bangabandhu is our everyday inspiration. Many writers, many researchers, they have written on Bangabandhu. So those, you see, the valuable writings can also be, you see, translated into Arabic or other languages. I think the embassy can also take initiative about that. So with these few words, I would like to conclude. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. And Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, long live Bangladesh Jordan friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal Abdul Nasser Chowdhury. I think he has made the points very clear. And in agreement with him, I would like to speak to our young audiences as well, that as Dr. Chowdhury was saying, the lessons that we get from Bangabandhu's life are timeless and in fact very relevant today. In fact, I was asked by a university student a few days ago as to why this Mujibiyar is so significant. And my answer to him was simple: relevance. If you look at the life and the philosophy and the struggles of Bangabandhu, the lessons that we get from there can be applied verbatim in today's context. So if you look at his focus on freedom of religion, secularism, a dream of a discrimination-free society, non-discrimination not only just between citizens in a state, but non-discrimination between the states themselves. We hear things like sustainable development, inclusive development these days a lot. And if you look at the political philosophies, programs, and policies of the Bangabandhu's life, and after he became the head of government and head of state in Bangladesh, as in his government, if you look at the policies, you will see that these concepts, like leaving no one behind, has always been there for Bangabandhu. So it's the relevance of Sheikh Mujib's political philosophies and ideas which makes learning about him not only that much more important, but in fact interesting. So I would not take up any more of the time and go straight away to our next speaker. I would now like to invite our first Jordanian speaker for the day, Dr. Sawsan Majali, for her comments. Dr. Majali is a former member of the Jordanian Senate, having been elected in 2016, where she was also the chair of the Senate Labor and Development Committee. She has been a member of the Board of Trustees of the National Center for Human Rights, as well as a member of the Board of Trustees of the National Council for Family Affairs in Jordan. She is considered an expert on and has a very rich academic and practical background in nursing, serving in many relevant positions in Jordan and abroad, notable among which include being a member of the World Health Organization's Global Advisory Group on Nursing and Midwifery. We are pleased to have such a respected and senior policymaker from Jordan with us today. Without further delay, Dr. Sawsan Majali.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I'm glad to be invited to be part of these celebrations. And I apologize as I wasn't with you the other day, but thank you for inviting me again. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be invited to participate in celebrating Bangladesh's celebration of the 49th anniversary of its victory. I've had the privilege to visit Bangladesh once when I attended the annual conference of the Save the Children International, where we stayed at the BRAC compound. I was very impressed at the time with what this organization has contributed to the transformation of Bangladesh. When we talk about transformation, we talk about a marked change, usually for the better. And this is being embodied in the Bangladesh for today. As Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh stated, many see Bangladesh as a market of more than 30 million middle and affluent class people and a development miracle. To me, our strengths are the societal values and people's trust in Bangladesh. Equally, people's aspirations to progress and their resilience, as well as their confidence in our leadership. The successful and accelerated development transformation that Bangladesh has achieved is seen to be fueled by three country-specific mechanisms. Spectacular development of the ready-made garment industry, which resulted in the rapid transformation of the economy from agriculture-based to industry-oriented. Bangladesh offered a better environment for manufacturing firms to achieve economies of scale and create a large number of jobs. Significant investments in infrastructure, which has helped to connect the formerly fragmented economy, and penetration of microfinance institutions and NGOs into rural communities that led to relaxed credit constraints in rural poor households. In addition, Bangladesh's economic transformation is seen to be driven in large by social changes, starting with the empowerment of women. Thanks to the efforts by the non-governmental organizations, the Grameen Bank and BRAC, along with more recent work by the government, Bangladesh has made significant strides toward educating girls and giving women a greater voice, both in the household and in the public sphere. These efforts have translated into improvements in child's health and education. The Bangladesh government also deserves credit for supporting grassroots initiatives in economic inclusion, the positive effects of which are visible in recently released data from World Bank. Among Bangladeshi adults with bank accounts, 34% made digital transactions in 2017, compared to the average 27.8 for South Asia. On the other hand, Bangladesh is continuing a strong development trajectory, marching ahead of other Southern Asian countries in terms of its ranking on the Inclusive Development Index, GDP growth, and other human development achievements. The current government's efforts to use technology to reduce poverty and transform the lives of the general population in Bangladesh has played a key role in this growth. The government, recognizing that digital inclusion as the only way to facilitate rural economic activities and enable rural workers to capture a larger piece of the economic pie. The My Village, My Town initiative is one of the most notable examples of the Prime Minister's bottom-up vision. Under the initiative, modern city amenities are being expanded in every village of Bangladesh. For the first time in the history of Bangladesh, these marginalized people have been recognized as the center of economic activity. Public spaces and urban services are being designed to make cities more inclusive for women and groups of people with special needs. Digital services, access to information, and technical and vocational training for less privileged women have been playing a major role in empowering them. In addition, Bangladesh has experienced tremendous growth in the last decade under the leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Today, Bangladesh experiences 8% GDP growth as one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And Bangladesh was ranked 34th in the WIF Inclusive Development Index 218. By 2030, Bangladesh is projected to become the 24th largest economy in the world. The key factor behind this growth is the smart utilizing ICT to spur growth in all sectors. In Bangladesh, more than a quarter of the rural population still do not have access to electricity. For millions of people, daily activities such as cooking and studying or working are difficult. But off-grid solar power is rapidly changing this. Bangladesh has one of the largest domestic solar energy programs. The World Bank and other development organizations, along with the private sector, are working with the government to bring affordable, solar-powered electricity to places where the traditional grid does not reach. Shops and restaurants can stay open after dark. Families no longer have to rely on polluting firewood and kerosene, and girls can improve their literacy by studying at night. And not to say the least, avoiding fossil fuels, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In terms of environment, the country wants to decarbonize and is opening new solar parks and wind power plants. The Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland has stated that many current world leaders may learn from Sheikh Hasina's leadership that secured Bangladesh's positive growth amid pandemic, even while the country was shouldering the burden of over 1 million Rohingya who had fled their homeland in Myanmar to avoid persecution. As the leader, Sheikh Hasina of a developing country listed as one of the most vulnerable in the world to natural disasters, her actions demonstrated that development does not need to come at the cost of our humanity, and that compassion should be a key feature of leadership, she said. I wish to extend my heartfelt congratulations on Bangladesh for their 49th celebration of victory. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you to the honorable former member of the Jordanian Senate and key policymaker in the Jordanian governance system, Dr. Sawsan Majali, for your very informative speech about the development, both in an economic sense as well as in a human and social development sense from Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government. And if you look at, for the viewers, I would like to add that if you look at the figures and the type of investments that she has done in the various social and human development sectors, and then compare it with the politics and policies of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, you can see a very clear connection there. Leaving no one behind is Sheikh Hasina's motto for running the country, and leaving no one behind was the philosophy by which Bangabandhu spent most of his political life. So thank you once again from Bangladesh to Dr. Sawsan Majali for highlighting those socioeconomic successes of our country under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Excellencies, respected guests, viewers watching from your devices. Now I would like to go to our final two speakers, starting with our guest of honor. So I now invite for his remarks today's guest of honor, someone I have had the good fortune of working closely with for the last 4 years, His Excellency Mohammad Faruk Khan MP. He is a retired and decorated Lieutenant Colonel of the Bangladesh Army. Mr. Khan is currently serving as the chairman of Bangladesh Parliament's Standing Committee on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is also a Presidium member of Bangladesh Awami League, which is the highest policy-making body of this oldest and largest political party in Bangladesh. Previously, Mr. Khan, who is also a fifth-term member of Parliament, hailing from the Prime Minister's own native district of Gopalganj. Previously, he had successfully discharged his duties as a member of the Cabinet of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, serving as Honorable Minister for the Ministries of Commerce and Civil Aviation and Tourism. So I would now like to give the floor to Lieutenant Colonel retired Mohammad Faruk Khan MP for the speech of guest of honor.
Thank you, Farhad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable President of the Senate of Jordan, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, our Ambassador to Jordan, Excellency Nahida Sobhan, very distinguished panelists, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, Shubho Dupur, Amar mone hoy okhane ekhon dupur, good afternoon. Today we celebrate the historic 10th January, the homecoming day of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. On this memorable day, I pay my respectful homage to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Mujib, all freedom fighters who embraced Shahadat during our proud and courageous liberation war, and members of Bangabandhu's family who embraced Shahadat with him on 15th August 1975. On this day in 1972, Bangabandhu, the founding father of Bangladesh, returned to an independent country. After 9.5 months of confinement in the jail in Did, West Pakistan in 1971. Bangabandhu was a creator of history, the founder of a sovereign nation state, Bangladesh. Bangabandhu always inspired the Bengali nation. It was the inspiration he was inspiration for the freedom fighters, and under his courageous leadership, the Bengali nation earned the ultimate victory through the 9-month-long liberation war on 16 December 1971. So Bangabandhu remains the symbol of courage and strength to all Bangladeshis. As he came back in Bangladesh on 10 January 1972, many of us at the time could not believe that he would come back among us again. The Pakistani government had to release him under international pressure and also gave him the honor and protocol of a prime minister. The country was flooded with joy and celebration. As the people of Bangladesh celebrated his homecoming in the racecourse Maidan, he said in front of 1 million people, I quote, "My Sonar Bangla, which means Golden Bengal, is now a free and sovereign nation," unquote. He was not only a legendary figure in the history of Bangladesh, but also the greatest Bengali of all time. This has been explained already. In his iconic speech made on 7th of March, before the liberation war, he said, I quote, "This struggle this time is a struggle for independence," unquote. This speech has been recognized by the UNESCO as a World Heritage, a part of the World Heritage. After return from Pakistan, from the Pakistani jail, Bangabandhu declared parliamentary form of democracy in Bangladesh. The provisional constitutional order was promulgated by Bangladesh Parliament only one day after he returned to Bangladesh on 11th of January, 1972. Bangladesh held its first general election soon after his return. In that election, Bengalis witnessed the overwhelming winning of the Bangladesh Awami League, and Bangabandhu was elected as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Unfortunately, we, the Bengali people, could not save him, and he was assassinated by a group of miscreants and conspirators in 1975. But he left his vision for a prosperous Bangladesh among us in only about 3.5 years that he ruled Bangladesh. Today, under the dynamic leadership of his daughter, the current Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Jordanian Sheikh Hasina, we are marching towards fulfilling the dreams of Bangabandhu, which I mentioned earlier, the Sonar Bangla, Golden Bengal. Bangladesh now has been introduced as one of the emerging countries in the region and a role model for development. And particularly, I'd like to mention that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Bangladesh has recorded a 5.2% growth in the GDP. Excellencies, I'm extremely glad to see the Embassy of Bangladesh in Jordan very befittingly observing this day with the inauguration of the Bangladesh Bangabandhu Corner in the embassy premises, which amply naming it as the architect of Sonar Bangla in frame. I'm impressed and I appreciate the work of the embassy. And I must say, Excellency Nahida, I remember when you were in Dhaka, the parliamentary committee had also recommended very strongly that all the embassies of Bangladesh all over the world must establish a Bangabandhu Corner. I could not physically be present in the inauguration due to the current pandemic situation globally, but it is my immense pleasure to join you through Zoom in the inauguration of the Bangladesh Corner. I'm very pleased to see the presence of the Honorable President of the Senate of Jordan, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, inaugurating the corner. This shows Jordan is joining hands with us in preserving an important part of Bangladesh's history. It is also my great honor to congratulate the government and the people of Jordan, and especially you, Excellency, the Honorable President of the Senate of Jordan, in commemorating the 100 years of Jordan. I wish my brothers and sisters in Jordan and everybody here many, many years of success and prosperity. May Almighty Allah's rahmat and barakat be always with us. Long live Bangladesh Jordan friendship. আমি এখানে আমাদের বেশ কিছু বাংলাদেশের প্রবাসী বাঙালি ভাই বোনদেরকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি এবং আমার মনে হয় আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠান এই জুমের মাধ্যমে মিডল ইস্টের অন্যান্য প্রবাসী বাঙালি ভাই বোনেরাও দেখছেন। আপনাদেরকে আমি আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানাই আজকের এই দিনে আপনারা আমাদের সঙ্গে জয়েন করেছেন। বাংলাদেশে আমরা সবসময় আপনাদেরকে খুব রেসপেক্ট করি, কারণ আপনারা যারা প্রবাসী বাঙালি আপনারা সবসময় আমাদের বাংলাদেশের সকল অধিকার আন্দোলন, সকল অগ্রগতি, আজকের যে এগিয়ে যাওয়া এর সাথে আপনারা আছেন। আপনারা আমাদেরকে শুধু রেমিটেন্স নয়, আপনারা বাংলাদেশের মান মর্যাদা উন্নত করেছেন। আমাদের মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী জনাব শেখ হাসিনার নেতৃত্বে আপনারা বিশ্বাস করেন এবং আপনাদের কারণে যখনই তিনি কোনো বিপদে পড়েছেন বা তাকে অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছে আপনারা দাঁড়িয়ে তার প্রতিবাদ করেছেন। সুতরাং আপনাদের এই সমস্ত কন্ট্রিবিউশনের জন্য আমি জনাব শেখ হাসিনার পক্ষ থেকে, বাংলাদেশ আওয়ামী লীগের পক্ষ থেকে এবং আমার ব্যক্তিগত পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদের সকলকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ, অভিনন্দন, শুভেচ্ছা জানাই। আমাদের জন্য দোয়া করবেন আপনারা, আমাদের এমবাসিকে সম্পূর্ণ সহযোগিতা করবেন। ইনশাল্লাহ আমরা আপনাদের সেবায় সবসময় আছি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ। জয় বাংলা, জয় বঙ্গবন্ধু।
Thank you to our honorable guest of honor, His Excellency Mohammad Faruk Khan MP, for his speech and also for his thoughtful comments about the non-resident Bangladeshis who contribute so greatly to our economy and maintain that contribution even during the global pandemic. I would now like to go to our chief guest for his comments. Before that, I would like to give you an introduction to our chief guest. His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez is currently the President of the Jordanian Senate. His Excellency Faisal is one of the most senior and respected politicians of Jordan. Previously, he has served as the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Defense in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. He has an academic background of political science and international relations. In his long and illustrious political and policymaking career, His Excellency Faisal had also served as the Minister of the Royal Hashemite Court and as the Chief of Royal Protocol at the Royal Court. For his outstanding contributions to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, he was awarded with a number of Jordanian state honors, including the Kaukab Medal of the First Order in 2000, the Istiklal Medal of the Second Order in 1995, and the Istiklal Medal of the Fourth Order in 1987. We are greatly honored by His Excellency's presence today on this historic date for all Bangladeshis, which goes on to show the relationship which exists between our two countries. So without further delay, I would now like to invite our honorable chief guest, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, for his speech.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We celebrate today the centennial of the birth of a great leader, Mujib ar-Rahman, who led his country to independence, and we always value greatly the bonds which tie our two countries. And we always look forward to strengthen and consolidate these relations at all levels, political, economic, and social. This can be done through exchange of visits between the executive and the legislative branches, also between the chambers of commerce and industry between our two countries. And I think there is a potential to work together in all fields. For example, we were discussing today in the morning, when I met you in the morning, for example, the cooperation between our two countries over the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry also, because in spite of COVID-19, for example, which is really a very good indicator, you have reached 5% of economic growth. Unfortunately, in Jordan here, it's 3.4 negative. And we hope that next year, according to the World Bank and the World Economic Forum, I think we're going to reach maybe 2%. We hope so. But we look forward to cooperate at all levels between our two countries. And I would like to thank you personally, Mrs. Ambassador, for your efforts to strengthen these relations. And we hope for both our countries always success and prosperity. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Faisal Akif Al-Fayez, the President of the Jordanian Senate, for his remarks. Esteemed speakers, Excellencies, and viewers, of course. For those of us joining from Dhaka or elsewhere via Zoom, we will not be able to physically see the Bangabandhu corner, of course, but the embassy in Amman, Jordan has been kind enough to prepare a short video for us so we can at least participate in this opening virtually. So let us first see that video, and then we will go to the physical inauguration part.
আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর তুমি বাংলার ধ্রুব তারা তুমি হৃদয়ের বাতিঘর আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর তোমার স্বপ্নে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তোমার স্বপ্নে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তুমি বাংলার ধ্রুব তারা তুমি হৃদয়ের বাতিঘর আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর তোমার নামে গর্বিত জাতি আমার জন্মভূমি বাংলা মায়ের রক্ত পলাশ হৃদয় পদ্ম তুমি তোমার নামে গর্বিত জাতি আমার জন্মভূমি তোমার সামনে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তোমার সামনে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তুমি বাংলার ধ্রুব তারা তুমি হৃদয়ের বাতিঘর আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর মেঘনা মধুমতি জলে স্মৃতির নাও ভাসে তোমার মহিমা দিগন্তে দেখে মুক্তির নিঃশ্বাসে পদ্মা মেঘনা মধুমতি জলে স্মৃতির নাও ভাসে তোমার মহিমা দিগন্তে দেখে মুক্তির নিঃশ্বাসে তোমার সামনে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তোমার সামনে পথ চলে আজ চেতনায় মহিয়ান মুজিব তোমার অমিত সাহসে জেগে আছে কোটি প্রাণ তুমি বাংলার ধ্রুব তারা তুমি হৃদয়ের বাতিঘর আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর তুমি বাংলার ধ্রুব তারা তুমি হৃদয়ের বাতিঘর আকাশে বাতাসে বজ্র কণ্ঠ তোমার কণ্ঠস্বর
Esteemed speakers, excellencies, and respected viewers, the music that you were listening to is the theme song of Mujibiyat, the official theme song. We now have the physical inauguration part. I would like to invite the President of the Jordanian Senate, His Excellency Faisal, to do the honors. So we are looking at the physical inauguration itself, which is happening in Amman right now. Our ambassador is giving a tour to our chief guest of this newly installed Bangabandhu corner, which I believe would greatly benefit any visitors to our embassy compounds to know about the father of the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, respected viewers, we have reached the end of today's event online. Just a small announcement for our guests in the embassy in Amman, Jordan. Lunch has been arranged at the Hotel Intercon. You are cordially requested to join the lunch there. For the rest of us, it is time for me to say goodbye. I would like to thank everybody involved with the arrangements for today's event for all your hard work and effort. A special thanks to our colleagues in Bangladesh Embassy in Jordan, and of course, my own colleague Suranjit Mondol for taking the time out to look at the technical sides of today's event. On behalf of the Bangladesh Embassy and Ambassador Sobhan, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We wish the best of health to you and your families. Stay well and safe. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.